Hello everyone, my name is Jay, and this is The Sword's Edge, EDH strategy through the lens of modern Rapier combat. Welcome to the Grim Captain's Locker, a longer format video essay series where we deep dive into commander theory, preferably letting me ramble and make weird and hopefully intelligible analogies regarding topics I've hyper-focused on for far too long. In a normal intro, this is where I describe who I am, why I'm important and knowledgeable, and why you should listen to my chatter and consider it to be holy doctrine. Instead, I'm here to tell you that you shouldn't. I'm not here to tell you what to play or how to play, only to provide a lens to view our favorite game through, and hopefully some context you may have not yet considered. This video will hopefully expand your knowledge or add perspective regarding commander theory via an analytical comparison to something else I study, tournament sword fighting. And much like fencing, Magic players are often dead before they know it.
貴様の拳など顔どにも効かんわい。お前はもう死んでいる。何?
Without a deep dive of the various rule sets and forms, I fought a ton with rattan, foam, and steel weapons. This will be aimed primarily at my most recent obsession, rapier fencing. Modernly, historical European martial arts, or HEMA, focuses on adapting traditional melee combat for today's practice. Among the more subtle and tactical styles is rapier fencing, elegant, cerebral, and focused on the economy of motion. Sound familiar? The best EDH players don't just play cards, they read the table, sculpt threat, and time their strikes like a duelist waiting for the perfect parry or riposte. In EDH, tempo involves managing multiple opponents and anticipating their plays, which is obviously drastically more difficult than in a 60-card 1v1 format. Key aspects include efficient resource use. This is maximizing the impact of each spell or ability to maintain pressure on your opponents. Disruption. Using spells that hinder your opponent's plans, such as counterspells or bounce effects to gain tempo. And board presence. Establishing and maintaining threats the opponents must address, forcing them to react to your plays. Oftentimes, this can involve creating a clock. Other videos cover this, but if you're not familiar, this just refers to a given number of turns that they'll be able to continue at a rate. If you have 40 life and I have a 5/5 beater out and it can hit you and you can't remove it, you are on an 8-turn clock. It will just punch you in the face. Here's a bit from Tom Anderson over at cardkingdom.com. The internet's best place to... I'm not sponsored or anything like that. Seriously though, here's how we'll define tempo. Card advantage is an easy concept to grasp and track once you've had enough experience in Magic. We're sharply aware of the cards in our hand and on the field, and we feel very keenly when we lose a bunch of them at once to a sweeper. By contrast, you get a fresh batch of mana every turn, and so it is very rarely the obvious bottleneck to in-game success, and when it is, we tend to blame it on not drawing enough cards or not seeing enough lands. But as games get closer and more competitive, mana advantage, or tempo here, becomes a deciding factor more and more often. Simply put, we're looking to create advantage over the course of a game by generating incremental value and spending not just more mana than our opponents, but doing so efficiently while creating inefficiency for them. Imagine the main table threat, who we can assess has a very commander-centric game plan or combo win. They cast their 5-drop commander. It dies to a board wipe. They recast it for 7. Then we bounce it, and they recast for 5. They've spent 17 mana for a 5 mana effect. Or let's say we've spent 1 red mana for a Blammo, or Blasphemous Act, my friend group jokingly calls it a Blammo, and I can't get that term out of my head, and essentially none for a Snap. If this was card advantage, plus 16 would be pretty fucking amazing, but since tempo is a more nebulous resource, many players would fail to notice how much advantage is sitting there for very little investment. This is straight stonks. In fencing, tempo isn't just speed. It's about who is acting and who is reacting. Robert Childs, the #1 ranked rapier fencer in the world, says this: tempo is the measure of opportunity. The one who owns it forces their opponent into flawed decisions. We don't want to conflate tempo with ramp. Ramp can be integrated and is an important part, but they're certainly not synonymous. Newer fighters are often given the advice to be more aggressive, which is fine in theory, but in practice this often means they just get killed more often. That advice is more helpful as control the terms of the fight more. Attempting to control the fight can certainly be done via aggression, but it's just a means to an end. just like aggro decks have a defined niche in Magic. However, that doesn't mean telling a new player who wants to win more games, just play aggro, bro, is quality advice. Tempo is not speed, tempo is control. Mind you, it's a lowercase c. I don't mean control the deck. Just like when I refer to tempo, I don't mean a tempo deck in a 60-card format. I'm talking about the concept of control, the concept of dictating the pace of the game. Feints aren't lies, they're truths deferred. Nova, from Nova Combat Arts, defends feinting as a true technique presented falsely. In EDH, this could be a player presenting a clear win line, big board, lots of mana, but that isn't the win. Also, shout out to Nova. I used their clips for the Rapier videos that you see highlights of, and pretty cool. Check out their channel at Nova Combat Arts. You're baiting removal. You're drawing counterspells away from the real threat. Every card you play has a question. Do they thrust, or do they hold? The ability to hold back or sandbag a win con or major threat is pivotal to its success. I've seen countless times a player tap out for a massive spell, or cast their overcosted commander with no ETB, haste, or protection they need to untap with before it makes any meaningful effect on the game. In fencing, feints can often be used to force your opponent to use the ability to move a given part of their body, often referred to as time, in order to react to a first intention before dying to a second. As an example, the fencer here uses his feet to create a perceived threat, causing the opponent to attempt to parry with their sword. However, the winning fencer has maintained the time of their arm, able to simply extend for an easy kill. In Magic, this can be done with something as simple as a Thoughtseize. You can identify the hard control player, which is a learned skill I may cover in another video. You can simply toss a force targeted discard their way. This gives them two poor options: counter the Thoughtseize, which gives you your desired outcome, or let it resolve, allowing you to strip them of the removal that stymies you the most, or even stumble upon something more pivotal, like a stacks or combo piece you weren't prepared to answer. This is just one example, but think of other ways you can force your opponents into a dilemma rather than a problem. Remember, a problem has a solution. A dilemma has two solutions, each of which are equally bad. If you have a similar play like this, toss a comment below to share it with others. The key to what the victorious fencer did here is simple. He liked and subscribed to the channel. That was atrocious, but seriously, these take a lot of time to put together, and if you're a fan of this style of content, please let me know by stabbing those like buttons below. Speaking of stabbing, a parry riposte is fencing's cleanest punishment. Defend and strike in one breath.
There's no good attack, especially if I don't want to kill Olivia.
That's fine.
Okay, I should hit Olivia a little bit as a
Dude,
treat.
just do it. just go for it. Come on.
All right, so this is 8 plus 3 would be 11. And then I need to attack with this, which would be lethal. All right, goodbye, Olivia. 16.
Cool.
Oh, wait. Oh, wait.
I'll take 16 2-1s and prevent all damage that would be done to me this turn.
You got fogged.
Baited me into that! 16 life!
Did.
I will be mailing you an Oscar.
I got played!
Yeah, you walked right into it.
Olivia's just like, yeah, despondently.
So Surge.
Because my inklings are
You
here.
killed Krim, huh?
In my defense, you played yourself, man. Holy crap, Olivia.
Game changer play. And if I made this video a few months ago, game changer would be fine there. However, I mean, game changer is in a play that moves your chances of winning drastically with a single spell. I don't mean game changer TM, the list of 40 cards, at least at the time of talking. What we love to see here is not just a counter, but a counter play, where the active defense becomes offense. You don't just survive the hit, you reverse the blade. This isn't just a response, it's precision timing. If you cast it too early, the spell collapses on itself. It doesn't mean what it should mean. Too late and you've missed your chance. Fencing and EDH both live in that slight margin of error. Sometimes we need to go on the offense. Completely reactive game plans have a place, but can be difficult to close out games aside from the most hardcore draw-go control or combo lists. However, We don't typically want to send our attacks out blind. Waiting for an opportunity where the blue control player is tapped out means our big spell's much more likely to resolve. Waiting until just after a looming board wipe to knock back the elf ball player to deploy our big beat stick or value engine simply makes a lot more sense. In fencing, control the center line and you dictate the flow. In EDH, this isn't a physical, tangible space. It's political. We also have measure to work with. Measure refers to distance, how close you are to being struck or striking. In Commander, measures your threat profile. Are you just close enough to influence the game, but not close enough to draw that beatdown aggro? A well-played deck often uses that precise positioning to punish missteps without becoming the archenemy. That's centerline control. You're in everyone's threat radius, but you're also the one they don't want to cross. It's positioning, it's threat manipulation, it's strategic ambiguity, often in the forms of decks that aren't so commander-centric that they always know your next play. A massive part of this centerline political control is simply asking. People like talking about what they've done, and often what they're going to do. In the Elf Ball example, a simple ask to the Orzhov player, "Hey man, I'm worried about these elves and try and find an answer so we don't die. Do you have anything so we're not dead on his untap?" Simple question, right? A savvy player might bluff, "Nope, no removal here." Another player might honestly answer no. But our best outcome is the big smirk. "Oh yeah, Lathril, you just wait and see what's coming for you." This is a drum roll, please. Hidden tempo. We are simultaneously gaining both card and mana advantage by a simple IRL goad of the player who most likes to slam down cardboard. Why pay mana and spend a card on a wipe when someone else can handle it for you? Obviously this doesn't always work, but the best fencers always have an out. Should the goad fail, instant speed interaction like an evacuation can be there to save the day after they've passed on their opportunity to use their own. Particularly with a loot or draw effect. It's crazy the things you can top deck when needed. The lesson fencing gives us isn't about swordsmanship. It's about awareness, adaptation, and intention. The same faculties that guide a good fencer, risk management, tempo control, misdirection, define a good commander player. The blade is simply an expression of a decision already made in the mind. Commander's not a brawl. You don't need the biggest sword, you need the cleanest line. The best threat isn't the flashiest spell, it's the one you didn't see coming. Remember, a shot doesn't start until your opponent realizes it does. Control the measure, read the tempo, commit when it matters, and work towards inevitability. If you enjoyed this dive into strategy, like, comment, subscribe, and let's set sail for more. Oh hey, you're still around. If this video has interested you enough that you're still here, let me give you a quick intro. Like I said, my name's Jay, and I love a few things in life like magic and sword fighting. Ironically, I picked up both around the same time. I'm nearing 30, and as of last year, I've been traveling the US for some form of competitive fighting for as long as I have it. I started playing Magic as a standard FNM grinder back in OG Innistrad, and I thought my Kaalia EDH deck was an instrument of destruction, but took a hiatus after college and just returned heavily into the game since the pandemic. I play a variety of decks, but whether I'm showing off my mono black Spellslinger, riding the Bant value train, or living out my best Harry Potter fantasy with Grixis Wizards, I love the challenge of exerting board control from just one corner of the square. I'd really like to make this a regular thing, so if you're vibing with what you heard here, please let me know in the comments, and feel free to toss any feedback or stuff you'd like to see in the channel. Catch you guys later.